Hello, let's go ahead and get started on this ground beef stroganoff. It can go from pot to mouth in under 30 minutes. I know you're going to love it. It's creamy and rich. So let's go ahead and get started. We don't want to wait. Let's go get started. All right, first things first, let's get this ground beef going. I'm using an 80% here. Best to use an 85 for less grease. We want this cooked over a medium heat. We want it nice and brown. Of course, I do leave just a little bit pink so that it won't overcook. And as you can see, I didn't wash the ground beef. I took it straight out the package. Washing ground beef does not do anything because it is already mixed. Any bacterial is inside. And now we're going to get started on those spices. This is for the ground beef itself. And now I need to sprinkle some of this over top of that ground beef. We have 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of ground mustard, a half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. Of course, we're going to add a little bit more to this to give it some flavor. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of Shire sauce. I almost said it, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. I meant a tablespoon. A tablespoon of Shire sauce. I like to season my ground meat while I'm cooking it to infuse some of that flavor inside of that meat. Now, I don't like my ground beef minced up too fine. I like it more chunky. Of course, you know I like most of my stuff a little on a heartier side. The flavor doesn't change, it's just a texture preference. Now when you're mixing it up, you want to make sure that that seasoning is blended pretty well in that meat. Also, as you can see, this meat generated a lot more grease than I anticipated. We're going to go ahead and we're going to drain that out though. But don't forget, leave just a little bit in for some flavor. Alrighty, it's time to drain this. As you can see, I still have a little pink in there. And we're going to move on to the egg noodles. We need about 2 cups. I used a half of the bag. You can use any pasta. That's your favorite. So if you don't like egg noodles, that's perfectly fine. Or if you don't have any. One word of caution, don't overcook it because this is going back in the sauce. Alrighty, we have drained the ground beef. And of course, I'm just pushing it to the side because I was being lazy. You can take it out and put it to the side until you're done with sauteing the vegetables. I'm throwing in about 2 tablespoons of butter. We got to put some flavor in this. This is going to be full of flavor. And I've added to the dish 1 shallot. If you don't have a shallot, you can, hopefully I'm saying that right, you can add an onion, a small onion. Of course, I got to get all the bits. Now you might ask, Dana, why are you using a shallot? Because it's milder. I don't want the onion to overtake this. Plus, it's a little bit sweeter than your regular yellow onion. But if you don't have it, that's fine. Just less onions. And here I'm adding 2 large minced garlic. Of course, you got to put just a little bit of garlic in. We just added more flavor. And of course, mushrooms. I think that's about a little over 2 cups, but it's according to your desire. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to put them in. What I would suggest, if you forego the mushrooms, add a little bit more of that Shire sauce. And we're just going to cook these until they are a little bit sweated down, or just the mushrooms have cooked and shrunk just a little. And here I'm using the white button mushrooms, but you can use whatever is your favorite. My favorite are the Bellas, but hey, this was buy one, get one free. So I grabbed two of them. You cannot beat a sale, right? So once all those vegetables, those nice aromatics, and the mushrooms are sweated down, go ahead and mix them in because we're going to start building on that sauce now. The next ingredient is going to determine how thick you want your sauce. Now, I'm going to start off with only about a tablespoon of all-purpose flour, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over top. And as your sauce is simmering, and you see that you would like to thicken it up, you can add a little bit more flour. And I am adding about a teaspoon and a half in my case, of Shire sauce. And now we're going to add some more flavor. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of the Dijon mustard. But don't worry, it's not going to come across. It's just going to add some flavor. Now, of course, we can't forget, I'm adding about a cup and a half of beef broth. Of course, you do want to keep some in reserve. As you're cooking, you might want to add more to your sauce. And I'm going to mix that up really well. You're going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes. This is the point where you're going to need to see if it's thick enough for you. I'm also going to add about a half of a teaspoon of herb de Provence. If you don't have it, thyme will work. All right, so now we got our secret ingredient getting ready to come up. This is what's going to take our ground beef stroganoff over the top. It is our, yes, there you go, heavy whipping cream. You're going to use about a cup. If you do not have heavy whipping cream, you do not have to use it. You would just double up on your sour cream. But this heavy whipping cream, it makes it so creamy and rich. It really does transform the dish. And when you add it to your pan, just make sure it's on simmer. You don't want it boiling. You don't want curds. Curded stroganoff. All right, I am just going to mix this up till it's well blended. At this point, I'm going to taste it. Because I used about 1.5 pounds of ground beef, and because it was so fatty, I lost a lot of the seasoning when I actually drained the grease out. So you definitely want to taste it to make sure that it's well seasoned. And now, my favorite. I got a lot of favorites, right? It is the sour cream. I'm using 1/2 cup of sour cream. This is a nice thick brand also. At this point, you can go ahead and cut off your eye of the stove, or cut off the heat, as they say. Of course, I said I'm adding 1/2 cup. Now, if you're not using the heavy cream, go ahead and double this up. It's to add a nice little tang to the dish. Now, don't nobody go anywhere. It's not over yet. And once we mix this really well, we're going to go to that last step. And that is adding that pasta noodle back in that sauce. Well, not back. It wasn't in there. But you get what I'm saying. Go ahead and add it in. If you wanted more pasta, add more pasta. If you want more sauce and beef, only add a little. It really is up to you. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not adding a whole lot of pasta. And voila, there we have it. Isn't that beautiful? Get this meal in your mouth in under 30 minutes. And I paired it with some nice honey butter, glazed carrots. It has been my pleasure to hang out with you today. I hope you give this creamy ground beef stroganoff a try. Let me know how it turns out for you. And if you want to see more recipes, just click right here.